Good morning, everybody. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, and I'm joining you from the breaking news show by Itobo News in Dallas, Texas. And today we have two guests. One is really part of our team, but our guest is Pamela Eyring. I hope I pronounced this
You
correctly.
did.
And she's actually joining us from Dubai, but she lives in Washington. She will explain a little bit more later what she's doing and why we're talking today. And of course, our colleague and good friend Peter Tarlow is joining us from College Station, Texas. And I see the weather is beautiful. If this is real behind you, Peter, but how's the weather really?
The weather has been beautiful. This has been a wonderful spring, but the picture you're seeing is of Texas bluebonnets, which is the state flower, and they're just about coming to the end of their season. So,
And I assume the weather in Dubai is already getting hot now, right? We're getting into April. It's like in between, isn't it? It's a beautiful time actually
Uh,
to
it,
travel to the UAE.
it's cooling down in the evenings, but it was I think yesterday 101. So in the daytime, that sun is very powerful. It's definitely very powerful. But in the evenings, it cools down. The humidity is not as high as it usually is in the summer. That's the good news.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm sure you stay cool. They have excellent air condition in Dubai. I know that. And Pamela, tell us a little bit what you're doing. What's your connection between Washington and Dubai? Maybe you can fill us in a little bit.
Sure, sure. We've been coming to the region since 2008, conducting our first course in 2009 under the patronage of the Crown Prince Court here in Dubai. And we've been delivering the International Protocol Managers Program, our certificate program here under their patronage, as well as the patronage from Presidential Affairs. And it has been quite a fantastic journey being here. And that's sort of how we got started coming. And that's why I'm here this week. And then we also just recently signed a memorandum of agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia Ministry of Foreign Affairs just last week. So very excited to be able to continue our work with them.
And what is the work? Because that's really come to the interesting
Yes.
part. It's about etiquette and how to behave, right? And
A little
so
more. There's a
a
little
little
more
more.
to it. A
Okay.
little. I wish it was that easy. No, but what we do is we have different levels. So if we talk about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the people that are planning for those heads of state visits and meetings and conferences, handling VIPs, they need to understand flag etiquettes, and the protocol, which country flag goes where, as well as, when we talk about, is it Your Excellency? Is it Your Royal Highness? Is it ambassador? So understanding, how to address these VIPs and then how to escort them and ensure that the visit goes extremely well so that business can be conducted. So that's one level. Then we go up further to managers and more the executive level where we're teaching them how to host these VIPs. So think about, when you are clients, we also do corporate work as well and financial institutions and universities so that when they're inviting people for whatever purpose, a ceremony, or if it's a meeting or a gala or dinner, we help them understand how to host that event. And, so all the things that we're teaching the protocol managers and officers, they're the ones that have to, be on stage at that manager executive level. And etiquette is definitely part of that. Protocol is more of our rules, our code of conduct, the things that we need to do, but the etiquette is how we do it. So if a greeting is protocol, you give a greeting to everyone. How we give that greeting is the business etiquette side.
Right. I mean, I hear these greetings sometimes at events I'm attending where you have a list of 20 people before you actually come to what you really wanted to say. Is this really so important to do that? Do people
oh,
pay attention?
absolutely. If I could just defend Pamela on this question a little bit, I remember a few years ago, the State Department hosted a luncheon for Egyptian, Israeli, and I believe it was Jordanian diplomats. And the first course they served was a salad. Needless to say,
No,
that
that
was
can't
not
be
a
true. Really? Oh,
yes,
no.
yes. That was not getting off the meeting to a good start.
And
to
that's
say the
the
least.
cultural considerations, right,
Yes,
Peter?
exactly,
That's definitely
exactly.
a part of
You
it.
get, I mean, and that's really a question of, on some level, protocol and etiquette. You don't serve pork to people from the Middle East,
No,
period. That,
no.
so but that shows, the importance of things like that. Even in security, I have to work with protocol and etiquette because police officers, how you arrest somebody, what the system is, are all intertwined with that. So an arrest can go extremely easily and good, or the same arrest can be a total disaster because of the
Right.
fact that the person doesn't know how to do it, what the protocols are, what the traditions are, the customs, and how you handle it. So what she
Great.
is doing is really very valuable.
Thank you.
Now, in being in Dubai, what is such a different culture and such a sensitive part of the world to be in, especially now with so many changes in our country, how do you maneuver around? Do people um, mention current political situations when they talk to you, when you teach, or you leave this all besides?
It's interesting because I've been here going on 2 weeks, and I find that, and I'm staying at multiple hotels. When I was in Saudi, whether I was here, I stayed at the Palm, at the W, and there's a lot of Europeans, a lot of Russians, a lot of Asian cultures here. I mean, you can hear their
Right,
dialect, and I have not overheard anyone talking negatively, thankfully, about our politics or our world affairs that are going on from the US at least. And so, what I've been doing I like going in these elevators and greeting people. I go in the elevators because it's multicultural and I say, "Good morning, how are you? Have a great day." Or, "Oh, it looks like you're going out to tour Dubai." And I have a very English, American English accent, if you want to call it
right.
that. And they respond positively. So it's been pretty good so far. But, it's still, people watch the news and I think it's on the top of their minds, but perhaps they're not voicing it as yet as
Or they
far.
may agree with it.
So peace through
Could be.
tourism
Right?
is
The
alive, right?
assumption that people are upset is a very bad assumption. I work across Latin
Exactly. That's a
America,
really good
and,
point, Peter.
and everyone in Latin America says, "Thank God there was a change of parties." If it
Oh,
hadn't been
really?
for that,
Really?
if it hadn't been for that, we would be in terrible trouble. So if you walk in with a defensive attitude in anything, that's a bad etiquette.
Exactly.
If you have a negative mindset, you're going to create negative feelings. And
Excellent point.
Now, our friend, and you don't know him, but Peter knows him well, Alain Saint-Ange is currently running to become the president of Seychelles. And so now being a president, it takes everything to a completely different level. And Alain, it's no secret, he loves publicity. He has been on eTurbo News every day, and he calls for everything he's doing. He wants to be in the news, and he wants his name to be out there. Is this a good idea for someone in high politics with with a position like a president? Or would you say once he becomes a president, he should cut down a little bit?
Are you asking me,
Yes,
Durban? I think it's wonderful. I think the more, if it's positive visibility,
right,
it's really nice. But I think it's good. I think digital communication is the way to do things. We can't always be in person with everyone. And so the messaging that he's in his brand, his personal brand, and his points of view and his assistance and potentially what he will do as president if he was the president, then I think it should continue because it would look weird, I think, if he slowed down, because
right.
then it's like, oh, he got elected or he's in now, and but people want to hear the voice of
yeah,
the president, I
So
think.
I actually would divide that into two levels. While you're a candidate running for office, all publicity, positive or negative, is good among the voters. The problem is that if you're getting publicity outside of a small country, that's kind of worthless. So the question is, I think you have to always think through your audience. If your publicity is to the people who are actually going to vote, yeah, I agree with you. If it's that you're coming from a place like the Seychelles and you're getting a lot of publicity in the United States, and 99% of the population doesn't even know where the Seychelles are, then it just becomes a bother. In other words, and it will do you no good in the Seychelles. As a matter of fact, I think it might boomerang and be negative. So so the basic rule that
Interesting.
I always use is know your audience, know what they need and what they want. And that's part of etiquette and protocol is know your audience.
Oh, for sure. When you're on stage and when you're backstage is
Right.
what I always teach.
Yes,
And
exactly. So so that's why I would divide that between your local, the voter population and the non-voter
It's a
population.
very valid point, Peter. Absolutely. But how would you, with your business, go after doing a pitch, for instance, to someone like Alain? What could you do for him? And I'll be happy to share this with him.
I personally will, if he's taking office, he needs to get his staff ready.
Right.
They need to be working on the same page. We need to understand, if I was to conduct a training, logically, I would interview his staff to see what is his points of view, what is important to him, what is his preferences in protocol, if there are any. Sometimes they just do it naturally, but helping them with seating, understanding precedents and ranking so that they can apply precedents in all that they do. And invitations, what is the correct way to write a president's name to host an event on an invitation? Who is on the invitation list? Who's his A list, his B list, his C list, community leaders, or even international guests. So there's a lot to do to get organized for a new president,
So
because they bring in new people usually.
Yeah, so if he became president, you could help him. For example, he said he always wanted to have an appointment with the US president, whoever it is. At that point, now it's President Trump. You would help him to get this appointment?
No, that's a little over my pay grade, they usually say.
Okay.
However, I mean, I would help him understand, and he wouldn't be the one getting making the phone call, but his executive staff would,
Right.
Who to communicate with the State Department for that request.
I think you also have to always take into account the size of the country and its balance. It's certainly from the US perspective, England or France or Germany or whatever country, or Japan or whatever country it happens to be, is going to have a lot more precedence than a country that's the size of a city block
Yeah.
in population of New York City. So I
Very
think
true.
you have to be careful because working in Latin America, you see all sorts of people who have self-aggrandizement. And one of the things I have to tell them is, no, we have to put this into perspective. You may be the president of the municipal council of some small city in northern Mexico, but your city is 3,000 people. And the president of Mexico is not going to worry so much about you if she has to worry about Mexico City with 24 million people. So one of the things I try to teach people is know exactly what your limits are. Don't be so enthralled with your own title that you forget reality.
I think that there's a good point there, Peter,
Yeah.
because you're absolutely right that
Yeah.
that presidential level
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily equal another presidential level. It's
Exactly.
respected, though.
Yes.
There's no harm in trying to meet the
No,
president,
of course
especially
not.
if there's some collateral
Yeah.
business that really could be great
Yeah.
for that
Or there's
president.
some military thing the United
But
States
it might
wants
not
to
be a
put in the
big
middle.
stage, world
Yeah.
stage official visit,
Yeah.
or it could just be what they call, or a state visit. And maybe it's an official visit. So not all the pomp and circumstance would go with that visit. But,
So
it can be.
what you have to know is you have to know what you have to offer, what your
Exactly.
weight is on the world. You have to know what your value is. And are you doing this because you're trying to massage your own ego? Or is this, if you're in the world political stage, your ego is secondary. What's important is the politics and the diplomacy.
And protocol, that's what protocol does.
Yeah.
We're not branding We're not a PR agent or anything like that. We work with those collaborative partners, but we want to have a distraction-free environment so that business can occur. And so our focus is on those people and that arrival to the seating, whether it be a luncheon or a big dinner or gala, we're planning all of that based on the respect for that president and his guests.
And that's really important. I worked at the U.S. Embassy in Santiago, Chile for a few years. And we practiced everything from which forks to use and knives because nobody knew that.
European style or American style?
And how many forks, how many knives, where you seat people, where the position is. And so all those things, people, shockingly enough, look exactly where they're seated and who's at that table and what indications are you giving diplomatically by who you have that person sitting with.
Exactly. And it takes time. I mean, because there's personalities, there's precedence and rank and order.
Yes.
However, there are personalities or there's strategic seating where you want those people or that person to be seated with a few people so business can occur as well. Yes. Absolutely. There's a lot of investment of time in seating. And, if you think about it, the formality level, if you're at a head of state level, a dinner or lunch is going to tend to be more formal. So you need to know attire. What is the dress and the attire? What does that mean if you're coming from a different country? And also that might be very casual, very beachy. And then you come into Washington, D.C. It's a whole different vibe. And then you have the take-in cards that tell you what table number you're seated at. And then at the table, you have a designated seat. And I tell you, we're always trying to keep those designated seats in place because sometimes they don't know protocol and they'll pick up that card and go, oh, I want to switch it with somebody over here. And we're like, no, so yes, that's what happens sometimes at these events.
I wish we had you at the U.S. Embassy in
So when people, you're in Dubai, you teach in Washington, D.C. So what is your business? What's your business model? How do people reach out to you? Can people or countries work with you? How do you handle this?
Well, we have open enrollment programs. We're an accredited institution delivering certificate programs, not diplomas or degrees, but what we call executive education. So we have open enrollment public courses that people come to from all over the world and of course, in the United States. And we have them here in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And then we do a lot of customized. So people find us by word of mouth. I'm going to tell you, we've grown for the past 35 years, going on 36. We have grown, we have marketing, we have social media, we have a website, but we take good care of our students or our participants. And they go out and go, oh my gosh, we just went to the Protocol School of Washington, or or they hear that they're having difficulty planning these events, or they want to train some vice presidents that aren't, really don't have that sociability skill. They hear about us from other people. And then they search for us on the website at, our website. And then, our accreditation is credentials. It's not easy to become accredited. And it shows that we adhere to the standards of education. And that they like as well. And then we start talking with them. We really want to understand what their needs are, requirements. And then we help develop learning objectives for their people and who those people are, and keeping our classes relatively small. We don't like to go over 30 people because there's so many questions and we have a lot of interactivity when we're teaching.
Right. And how long is it, like one semester, several semesters? How long is a course like this?
Well, we've run them, it can be 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, up to our protocol officer certificate is 5 days, but we've also created
customized. Short. Okay.
Yeah, they're short courses. Now I have done, a 20-week program here in Abu Dhabi, and it was a mix between business English and protocol, but we were, focusing on the younger generation of, 20 years old to under 30, to help them find jobs in the UAE. And that was an amazing experience because we had to teach them time management, culturally. if you're going to work for their, potentially a government, especially their government, you understand the culture here is very open. It's not like American culture where time is money, go, go, go to the minute. When they take a break, the break might be 15 minutes. They might come back in 2025 because it's just open as far as time constraints. However, when you work for their government, it's a little different because they require it. So helping them make that transition was quite fun.
Time is definitely has different meanings in different countries.
Yes, yes. It's essential. I have learned after working decades in Latin America that when somebody says to me tomorrow, what they're saying is not today. When they're saying we'll get right to it, that means I'll get around when I have time for it.
And this is even in Hawaii, Peter. I lived in Hawaii for 36 years. For 29 years, I lived in a very small town on the north shore of Oahu. And we have our big meetings. They're very serious with the Chamber of Commerce, and you can get there with their slippers and T-shirts, sometimes even without T-shirts, depending how you look, I guess. And you have serious meetings and their protocols. So it starts small, and it's definitely different from
what's really, I think Pamela would agree with me, is learning the nuances of a language. And that you can really make terrible mistakes. For example, a lot of people have studied British English, has many different nuances than American English. And then in American English, there's regional nuances. So in Texas, if I say to you, bless your heart, that's not a compliment. What I'm saying is a very four-letter word type of thing, but I won't say the four-letter word. Instead, I will say bless your heart. That's not a compliment. But I have
That's
people
in South Carolina too.
Yes, throughout the South. But I have people come from the North who say, they're so sweet, they're so polite. They just said, bless my heart. I'm thinking, boy, did you miss that?
Yeah.
Or the other way, and they said, and I blessed their heart too. And I said, oh, wow, you just ended that relationship big time.
Well, that's, you make a good point here, Peter, that even in the United States, culturally, and different states have different customs and courtesies too.
Yes.
Originally I'm from Ohio, and when we moved to South Carolina, even handshakes. Older men would shake my hand very gently and finger-tipped, and it was really because they were taught as children that's how you shake a lady's hand, a woman's hand. And even though I have a business, I'm in business, I had to get used to that and understand they're trying to be respectful.
Right.
Which was good. Now, being called when we moved from Ohio a transplant, and they're like, "Oh, you're a transplant." I thought maybe that wasn't positive, but I'm not sure. Still, I don't know. I
think that's a neutral term. In Texas, that would be a neutral term.
Yeah.
If they call you a Yankee or they have other words if they want to be negative. But if someone says, "Oh, you're a transplant," I don't see
it's like, I mean, that's like, a lot of Ohioans moved to South Carolina.
You're wearing, it's like saying you're wearing glasses. It's just a fact. I mean, it's not they can be negative, but you have to know the terminology. But my point is that I've been in multiple places. I think I helped Jürgen with something one day where he said X. I said, well, actually, in American English, it doesn't mean that. What you're doing is you're being very insulting. And there are lots of terms that sound right on paper, but are not right in the living language. And I had the same issue in Spanish, where people across Latin America all speak Spanish, but some of the words you use in Mexico are really four-letter words in Argentina, or vice versa. And I have to say, no, we can't. We have to use a neutral word by the Spanish Academy in Madrid. Don't use the local term because it will be misinterpreted by somebody else.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, our readers, of course, are mostly related to travel and tourism. So we reach a lot of people in the travel and tourism industry. So there's also politics, the etiquettes within the travel and tourism industry. Like yesterday, we were in Indonesia, in Jakarta, at the UNWTO regional conference, what was attended by ministers and local dignitaries and so forth. When people in the travel and tourism industry want to learn more about etiquettes, is this a good fit for them to contact your school?
Absolutely. I think this is, it's you think about customer service, and I'll tell you, it's difficult with customer service. But in travel and tourism, I really feel strongly that they're the front line of that country or that city. So,
Okay.
having them trained and it's not just to smile and be polite, it's to understand, other cultures and people, and not in having control of your own emotions, because sometimes, they really get upset if their room's not ready, or something happened on the plane, or they missed a flight connection, so anything can make this person or people to be upset. In fact, I flew in from JFK last Wednesday, and it's an overnight. So I flew out Tuesday, arrived very early Wednesday morning, and I hadn't slept because it was a morning flight. And so I was tired. And I get to the W Hotel on the Palm here in Dubai. And I'm like, oh, I hope they don't make me wait till 3 o'clock. I'm like, oh, no, 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 please. So I went up to the counter and I told him, I said, look, I just arrived. I'm very tired. And I hope that my room is ready. I did, message and ask for that. And the gentleman looked and he says, well, your suite is not available yet. We're cleaning it. However, we'll give you a courtesy room so that you can rest. What?
Nice, yeah.
Wow. That's the first time in my travels that and he did it in such a nice way. And he said, we'll take care of everything. When you wake and you feel refreshed, just contact us, or we'll send you a WhatsApp. And he confirmed my cell phone and that it was United States. And they texted me or WhatsApped me, and my room was ready. And then they assisted, of course. And they were so friendly at that hotel. I mean, it's a cool vibe anyway. I stay in
Right.
like Ritz-Carltons and, nice properties, but they're a little more formal, where that one is not. But it was so cool. But it wasn't just the look of the hotel, it was the people.
Yeah.
It's
And
always going to be about people.
yeah, and that is definitely something. I mean, also Peter and I, we travel a lot. We travel all over the world, and I can share this experience, whether it's in the UAE or in Thailand or in many places of the world. People saying, "Oh, we're educated in the United States, and we went to this school and that school." I thought to myself, it should maybe be reverse. We need to send some of our people to Indonesia or to Thailand or to the UAE to learn what hospitality really means. Because exactly this experience you had, I had it before. I also had it in the UAE one time when I was checking into the Andaz Hotel in Abu Dhabi by the convention center, and it was early, and they didn't have my room ready. And I said, "You know what? You're one of our really loyal guests here with Globalist. We're just going to give you the presidential suite." So there I was in a suite with a piano. I had an outside patio where I can entertain 200 people. I had wine everywhere, was part of the room rate. So I had a $70 room and I stayed in the presidential suite. So this would probably not happen at a hotel in
Not
Washington
usually.
or here in Dallas or anywhere else in the world. And so I think everyone can work from everyone. And it is great that you work in so many different countries, and you can understand and teach and relate to how things are and how things could be done better. Because all our industry, what it is, it's hospitality. It lives and it dies with hospitality,
Yeah.
basically.
And it's really, okay, maybe we didn't get the presidential suite. It's how they tell us we're
Right.
not getting the
Right,
presidential suite,
right.
really. And maybe there's some other comps that they can do for us, or
Also remember, in a great extent in travel and tourism, it's not the Jürgen and you are both speaking about business travel. But when somebody's traveling with 3 children,
mm,
then the whole world changes. And so we have to think through when we're talking about hospitality, what is the difference between the single traveler, business or
good point.
whatever it happens to be, versus the family or if you're coming with a group, or how you do that. Now, I usually just advise people uh, buy the room the night before, so the room is ready. And
Mhm.
so, for example, when I'm taking groups, I take group tours all over the world. I always make sure if we're coming on a Tuesday morning, I make sure that we buy the room for Monday night. That way, everybody gets a room because the hotel cannot give everyone. If you're bringing 30 people at a time, there's no way that a hotel can 30 people extra rooms. And so the traveler also, when we're taking groups, we need to have the predicate, have the knowledge and the etiquette to know, wait a second, they probably won't have the room ready to 3 or 4 o'clock. In Europe, it's also often 4 o'clock. You're going to be arriving at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're going to be a refugee with money for 8 or 9 hours. And how do we get around that? Well, one way we get around it is if we can afford the $8,000 or $9,000 for the group trip. Let's add a little bit more and buy the room on the night before. And then those rooms belong to us. They should be ready.
And they'll be happier and
Yes,
they'll be rested.
exactly.
And then if
So,
they're
so
okay, they can
there's
shower or
two,
whatever and get
right.
out there.
There's two sides to the etiquette there. There's the customer etiquette and there's the provider etiquette. And we need to help both sides understand.
Well, same as tipping. I think in the United States, we're big on tipping.
Though it's going down now tremendously in the United States.
Yeah, it's.
The tipping has dropped radically in the US.
Do you think it's because of the encouragement of having higher wages?
Well, there's two or three reasons why. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area where you can now get $16 an hour
That's
as
what
a
I mean.
waiter, there's really very little reason to be tipping because the tip was supposed to make up for the low salary that you're only getting $2 an hour. But now the prices are reflecting in Washington, D.C., the $16 an hour. So what has happened in Washington, in Maryland, is two things. One, the higher they raise the minimum wage, one, restaurants have cut back on staff and because they can't afford
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
and or they go out of business. And two, people have stopped tipping or tip much lower. So where they were tipping 20%, it's now often around the country down to 10%.
Really? I haven't
Yes,
seen that.
yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
Now, the other thing is over requests. So, for example, if you go to a Subway, Subway sandwich shop or something, and you order a sandwich, they put on your bill, they say, "Would you like to give a 15% tip?" Well, you didn't do anything.
I know. I agree. I agree.
And so
Or
people have been over asked. And so that's lowering it. So but in different countries, and I'm in countries where tipping is really insulting. And I'm in other countries
China, for
where,
one. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
where people like Turkey, if you breathe, please tip me for the air. So there's two sides to that, but certainly in the United States, there's a sense across the country of people tipping less and really being exhausted from tipping. They've been asked for so many
Mhm.
tips, and in places like Washington or Maryland. Now you don't see that in Texas because in Texas there's the minimum wages, for waiter maybe $2 or $3 an hour, so they're living on tips. So that's a different story. But in Maryland, even in the fast food places, they've cut their staff by half. They've cut tipping has gone down radically, and many of the waiters and waitresses are really furious about the new minimum wages. They've really hurt the poor. They've not helped them. So it's
And I
been the
think it's in DC, as you would know, that certain levels of restaurants are
yes,
different.
yes, of
Even
course.
though they might be getting $16 an hour, but they've been there for 15 years and they're excellent. You know the service difference.
Yes, yes,
And
of
you
course.
get that kind of service and they're taking care of you, but they're not interrupting your conversation. May I give you more water
Yes,
kind of thing.
yes.
And they're treating you elegantly and
So
with
and those people go to those restaurants can well afford it. If you're
right.
talking in the DC
Because it's a
area,
higher end of,
right?
yeah,
But if you're
higher end
looking at
restaurant.
DC area of families or people going out for a special meal or whatever, they're now very concerned about tipping. Now we know the data shows that tipping has gone down. We know that the amount of employment has gone down radically as they've raised the minimum wage. So I'm not saying it's causality, but there certainly are correlations that we're seeing.
Oh,
But
good.
people are getting smarter. I can tell you, Peter, here in Dallas the other day. I went to a really nice Chinese restaurant, so one with valet parking. It's not just a regular
Yeah,
cheap
yeah.
Chinese restaurant, and you pay $39 for Kung Pao chicken. It's excellent. And at the end, you get a bill, sit there alone for $70 for food, not even any alcoholic drinks. And then they said, if you pay by credit cards, we're going to charge you 3% more.
I'm seeing that.
And
Yeah.
I thought this is unbelievable. And I know also in California, one time I went to a restaurant. It was actually at the W Hotel in, I don't know, it was LA or San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I see a surcharge. And I ask her, what's this surcharge for? Yeah, it's so we can pay health insurance for our cooks. And they put a surcharge on it. So I think places
It's
are
that
getting
resist
more.
that you pay a surcharge for health insurance for homeless.
Yeah,
When I
there's
asked,
all kinds of things. They're like built in, and you don't really
yeah,
know it. And then they show you in very small print below the menu. It says so you can opt out of the surcharge, but it will be put on your bill. So restaurants
I'm
are
seeing it
getting
being
more
added on the bill anyway, the tip.
yes, yes,
And
I
not
agree with
because you
Pamela.
have 6 people or more. I
right,
mean, they're just
right.
doing it.
Right.
Yes, yeah. And tip should really be a reward for good services. It shouldn't be
Discretionary.
assumed that services are good. So when you go to Europe, you know this, like where I'm born and raised in Germany, tips are already included. So 10% is included in the price you see on the menu. There's nothing added. You
That's
don't
called the
have a
service
price and
charge.
add to it. It's all included in the final rate. The tax is included, so you know what it is. And then you get a bill for 19 euro and 40 cents, and you tell, okay, 20, and they say thank you. It's great.
Yeah.
And
What we are seeing in the United States, and this is especially in the United States, is one, restaurants are going out of business.
Yeah.
Two, people are eating much less. Now, that may also have to do with the COVID period, but you're seeing huge numbers of people who now take out. And part of that is they're avoiding the tip. In other words,
oh,
they
take out you, but you also are expected to tip, Peter.
well, no, but I'm saying, I mean, I'm out all the time and I see that what happens is people take out, especially families, they'll order 4 or 5 dishes, they'll take it out, they pay their bill and they say thank you and they leave. So that's hurt, which is now causing a real other problem because the restaurants can't afford to keep the waiters, especially they're paying them $16 an hour. So a restaurant is a business.
The
Yeah,
cooks,
yeah,
the cooking and everything is a
yeah,
higher demand than
right.
the coming in and sitting down.
Yeah.
And I think that was based on COVID. I
Yes, I
think
think to a
because
great
we were
extent.
forced to stay in, and so that was their
Right.
only
Yes.
chance, or we had to do the drive-by kind of pickup and get back to your
Right.
house.
Yes.
So
So
I think then they got used to being at home, so
yes.
like
So
remote working,
yes.
and
So that's really been changing the whole protocols and tipping concepts around restaurants.
yeah.
And yes, it probably was COVID. I think I would agree with you. But the issue is they're really restaurants having a hard time getting people not to go from takeout back to sit in. And I see that around the country, and I see restaurants going out of business or cutting staff by 50%.
Well,
Uh,
I read that they're hiring when they do need servers or staff, let's just say front end staff, they'll take anybody.
yes,
And because they're so desperate, and even if their
Right.
attitude's not good, and I think not a good idea. I think you really you have to pre-screen some of these
of
people,
course.
especially if they're in the front side.
Right.
Because
In the face.
you ever go through one of the, and it could be it could be a quick service type of restaurant, or even a sit down, but it's casual. I have had the worst service or attitude. They don't give you icon. The fast food places are the worst.
Yes,
Not
here
that
I
I need a
agree.
lot of fast food, but maybe I need, some chicken strips and I need them now. And it's not Chick-fil-A, but I go through Hardee's or Burger King or something. Oh my gosh, they don't give eye contact. They throw they just toss the money at you. They throw your
And they
bag,
don't always give you when you go through what you ask for.
and then you don't get what you asked for. So
Yeah.
you're penalized for going through the drive-through
Yes,
anyway.
yes, yes. But all those are protocols. All those really fit, Now, I doubt you're going to give a course to frontline servers at fast food restaurants because they really probably just
Well,
don't care.
no.
But the bottom line is, even that shows you the importance of protocol and the importance of good training of people. Because it doesn't take much
Yeah.
to say thank you, a smile, and and I hope you have a nice day. Even that is a lot.
Peter, I think the younger workforce too is having issues with this.
Yeah.
A lot of them were in COVID and they do a lot of digital learning and families, both parents are working full time, or even if they're single parents or their grandparents raising them, whatever it is, but they're not getting, etiquette training at
No.
home.
First of all,
And
the
when I say
parents may
etiquette, it's
not.
not just dining etiquette,
Yes.
how to write an email
Yes.
properly. I mean, the basic
So I
to
think the
today.
long-term consequences of COVID will be very deep. We see this with children in elementary school who are having terrible speech problems because of the forcing the mess. I think historians at some point will write about this period as the age of stupidity. Um, and if I were writing in the year 2300 or 2400, this will be the second dark age. We basically blew off science. We made children wear masks at age 2 for a day when all we did is reinfect them. We had all this make-believe beliefs that hurt people. And even the younger people in college, because they were not interacting, they don't know how to interact. The phone became their buddy. And so
Yep.
they're comfortable with their phone. They're not comfortable with a human being.
And that's where we're really doing a lot of work is these young adults, their first time jobs. The schools haven't taught them, their home life hasn't been taught. So these employers are contacting us
They
to
teach.
teach their summer interns, to
Yeah.
teach, the junior
Yes.
professionals, to make them professional so they're not embarrassing the company.
It will
And
take
Pamela,
they
50
don't
to
know. They
60
don't
years
know.
to get past COVID.
right.
We don't realize the long damage that we did and the stupid rules that we made and how those rules have now impacted people after the science finally caught up.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Pamela, let me ask you one thing I forgot to ask, and I
Sure.
know I keep you here for a long time already, but
Yeah.
it's been quite interesting.
I'm
I'm just
enjoying
going
our
I'm quite,
conversation,
you
though.
know.
I'm going to
But
shut my video.
one last question,
I'm,
Peter, before you go. The Do you offer these courses also virtually? So if someone wants to learn, is this available virtually, or you have to go to Washington, D.C. to learn this?
No, we have what we call virtual live training sessions, the single subject courses that we offer throughout the year. So people can jump on or pay and attend live, and they can ask questions, and they have a live instructor. It's not videoed, it's not asynchronous, but we do have e-learning lessons that we just finalized that companies and entities, or we don't sell them B2C directly right now, but B2B. And so say,
Right.
a company wants, business etiquette, how to succeed in the international arena, dine like a diplomat, or it's just a business, dining skills or fundamentals, or business attire. We have those in e-learning format, so they can, they could white label them, or they could purchase them directly from us and utilize those on their learning management system or on ours. And
Yeah.
so we have three different modalities. So the customized on-site, we can do customized virtual. So a company that, doesn't want to send people through the open enrollment programs, we can do it virtually for as many people as they want. So we try to offer all three modalities.
Well, this has been we're a little bit already over our time, but it has been quite an interesting conversation, and we should continue this. And those that are watching us, you see the website where you can get a hold of Pamela as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can find, if this video is no longer playing, you always find it on the breakingnewsshow.com or on YouTube. Or just reach out to travelmarketingnetwork.com. We'd be happy to get you in touch with Pamela or Peter and make this a better, more exciting world for also diplomats to communicate with the rest of us and the other way around. So it's wonderful to have you both on this show. And thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
maybe
Pamela, if you
last.
send me your number or email, I'll look forward to getting to meet you when I'm in DC, and I'll send you mine.
Please, I'd love that.
Or maybe Jürgen can send it to us, both of us.
Okay, we'll do
Yeah,
that.
and Maybe Jürgen, you
you.
might be in DC too, so let me
Yes.
know.
And
We'll go do dinner and tip well.
Okay, all right.
I have an extra bedroom, so he always has a place to
See?
stay.
Okay, so if anyone is in Washington, D.C., you call up Peter if you need a bedroom. He'll be
Okay.
happy to provide it to you. And
Make sure you leave a nice tip.
and leave a very nice tip. Yes.
Good one.
Have a wonderful day. Bye
I
bye.
really
Okay, guys,
enjoyed
it
it,
was
gentlemen.
nice talking to you.
You
Okay, take
too.
care and enjoy Dubai.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. So I think this went well, and hopefully we can catch up again. And
Yeah, I'd like that. I really enjoyed you and Peter. That was a very invigorating conversation, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And if you ever think about joining our travel marketing network, take a look. We have some good people like
Sure.
Peter, like our Alain, the guy who's going to soon be a president, where he probably wouldn't have time to do many things for us. But we have a good small team of people we help to get business and visibility. So
Definitely. I'll take a look at
perfect.
that.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Take care. Enjoy
All
Dubai.
right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I am on the countdown to the maiden flight between Entebbe and Gatwick, and I am so excited. It's very early and I will be starting my day with a very strong cup of Ugandan coffee. The thing that I'm really excited about, the flight's not a convenience, it's not just about the time, the reduction in time it takes to get to the UK, it's about a connection. It's about a connection between UK and Uganda. It's a connection between our people. It means that on both sides, people have got an opportunity to see friends and family that they love more often. I'm Lisa Chesney and I'm the British High Commissioner to Uganda. Welcome. I see this really as a win-win, both for the UK and Uganda. So for British businesses, I think they're getting excited about faster access, better access to East African markets. And for our Ugandan exporters, for our Ugandan farmers, it means access to, I think, one of the most sophisticated consumer economies in the world. Well, let's talk about fruit and vegetables to start with. I am a big fan of Ugandan avocados and pineapples. And I would say the UK is a major market, a major consumer market for agricultural produce. Let's have a look at that. So to put this into context, the tea and coffee market in the UK is worth over £1 billion. Fruit and vegetables accounts for a really significant share of our £150 billion market, our food and beverage market. So I think there's huge opportunity essentially for Ugandan products there, because Uganda supplies really only a portion of that right now. So there's about £8.7 million of fruit and vegetables from Uganda at the moment, and just over 2.8 million, I think, on the coffee side. So I think the direct route can really help us scale that up. For British consumers, I think there is a potential for them to access fresher, more diverse produce, potentially even lower cost on their supermarket shelves. And for our Ugandan farmers and our exporters, it's the chance for integration and the chance to be really a regular supplier to a high value market. I'm really looking forward to get on that maiden flight. And for the estimated 50-odd thousand Ugandans that are living in the UK, this flight is more than just a convenience, it's actually a connection. So Ugandans that are living in the UK, they tell me that this for them is about strengthening their family ties, seeing more of people that they love. It's about simplifying their travel so they arrive less exhausted. But importantly, it's also about opening doors for trade and business and new opportunities. And so the flight will be a link that reinforces emotional ties and economic ties too. For our British population, for them it's an opportunity to really explore tourism, cultural ties, business and trade opportunities. I cannot wait to see Ugandan products that I love, coffee, avocados and pineapples, on the shelves in the UK. I really look forward to seeing you in London.
¡Ey! Madre mía. Víctor. Víctor. Ele. Bien, yalla, vamos. Ay, a tu talor.